You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
During World War II, a black and white tuxedo-style cat was owned by a German Navy man who took it on the Bismarck. And, well, of course, we know the Bismarck was sank. Well, one of the things that the British discovered was, upon the wreckage of the Bismarck, this cat sitting there. So they took the cat on board the ship, one of the ships. They gave him the name of Sam. Turns out, the second ship that he was on got into a fight and was sunk. And the third ship came up, this one that had actually sunk the Bismarck in the first place, rescued Sam, had heard about him and continued the name Sam, but they started calling him Unsinkable Sam. Then the third ship got sunk. And they took him out of the Navy, sent him back to England, and let him live out his days at a VA, basically a retirement home for soldiers. I don't think I would call him Unsinkable Sam. I would call him cursed. Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Glad to see you guys. We got Ed, we got Triple B, we got Cool, we have JD on the board. And JD, response to my Unsinkable Sam story is that he's the only non-human to ever get dishonorably discharged. That's not quite true. There was a parrot that kept giving away state secrets. But I believe they executed him, so that might not count. Okay. We are going to do something different today. I hinted about it yesterday and during in-stores this week last night. We're going to do a creative thing today. Partly because this has been bouncing around my head since last week. And partly because it's kind of slow right now. There's no shows to talk about, stuff like that. So I'm going to skip all the CinemaCon news today. We're not going to do a news segment. Tomorrow we'll do a full news roundup. I'll talk to you guys about all the great stuff coming out. By the way, though, the one thing that came out that totally made me excited and happy, not the Flash trailer, not the Indiana Jones stuff, not word of Aquaman, any of the teaser trailer for A Haunting in Venice. Kenneth Branagh is back as Hercule Poirot, and it's coming out in September. It's not that far away. We're going to get more Poirot. I'm excited about that. And if you're a Poirot fan and go, well, there's no book called A Haunting in Venice. It's based off of the Halloween Party. But the Halloween Party is a really bad name for a movie where Death on the Nile, Murder on the Orient Express, A Haunting in Venice, it kind of goes together. So they move the story to Venice. Poirot gets called or invited to a seance. It's going to have Jamie Dornan. It's going to have Tina Fey. It's got a pretty good, another all-star cast set up. I am excited. I am a huge murder mystery fan, and I love Kenneth Branagh as Hercule Poirot. So, all right, let's get into what story we're going to do. So the idea is we're going to try to work up a pitch for a Marvel series. Now, I kind of settled on the character I want to do. And I needed to do that because I needed to do a little research, stuff like that. And then thinking about what would work, I think that it's going to have to be a mini series, like a 6-issue series, episode series. It wouldn't really work as a special or a movie. I think this one's better for a series. It might work as a movie, but Leonard says, I'm hoping they get the War Machine project sorted out. Armor Wars was supposed to be a series, but last I heard it was a film. Yeah, they did change it, and I think it's because the scope of it is changing and the story behind it is changing a bit. So the fact that it's going to be a film means that it's going to be bigger, which could be a great thing, you know? So I actually like the idea of them doing it as a film rather than a series. All right. So the character I picked was someone that got mentioned last week, and I don't remember why he got mentioned. But I remember reading this as a kid and falling in love with this character because, well, part of it is his origin story and partly is his insane costume. JD, if you will. JD fell asleep. Ah, there it is. Jack of Hearts. This character was created by Bill Mantlo and Keith Giffen. So if you're wondering who would come up with this insane costume, Keith Giffen. Though Giffen swears that most of this costume was put together before he got on board. Finding Jack, I like that. Now, the interesting thing about the costume is it's got kind of a couple of different things going on here. Basically, he's wearing chainmail. This is supposed to be kind of a, like a medieval era outfit. The bands have nothing to do with his powers. The little pouch on the side, nothing to do with his powers. The arrow pointing at his groin, nothing to do with his powers. Or if we saw the backside, the X over his butt, nothing to do with his powers. This is supposedly something that his father had in his armament collection. Yep, you got to have somewhere to store your Cliff Bars. That is true. This costume has gone through so many variations, and yes, that's exactly what it's supposed to look like. He takes his name. Well, this is such a 70s or 60s, 70s comic thing. His name is Jack Hart. So he takes the name Jack of Hearts. His father's a scientist who collects medieval armament and who loves to play poker. They had to bring all those things together to make this guy a viable option. Which sounds to me like they went, I have a great name for a character. Really? What do you want to call it? Let's call him Jack of Hearts. Well, we should make him look like the playing card. And it just kind of grew out from there. Eddie says, I know nothing about this character. I'm going to help you out on that, Ed. That's why we're not doing the news segment, because I'm going to catch you up on the character, and then we'll start working on actually story. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Now, the interesting thing for me here first is where this character got started. This wasn't meant to be a giant cosmic character. This character debuted in the pages of Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. He was supposed to be a villain or an antagonist for the White Tiger. and which doesn't seem like a match, does it? The guy can fly and shoot concussion blasts, and the other guy's really good at martial arts. You know, that's a book that had Shang-Chi, White Tiger, Iron Fist, and they put this guy in there. But let me give you his brief origin in history. Again, Jack Hart. Now, the difference is Jack of Hearts is spelled Hearts, but his last name is just HRT. He was the son of Philip Hart, who was a brilliant scientist who developed an extremely efficient liquid fuel called zero fluid. Now, his mother's name was Marie, and we find out more about her later. But he doesn't know any of this. Supposedly his dad didn't know any of this, but she's actually an alien. She comes from the Contraxian race. And we learn a lot about them later on. But this was a character that, they did a pretty basic origin thing. Dad makes a super efficient liquid fuel called zero fluid, decides he wants to give it away to humanity for free, but instead the corporation, and they literally made the bad guys called the Corporation. The Corporation, which I believe was also the name of the group in Moon Knight. Don't know if they're related, but and Marie died in a car accident. So Jack grew up knowing nothing about his mom. Now, when Jack was like in his 18, 19, 20, early adulthood, his dad perfected the zero fluid and was going to, like I said, give it away to everybody. And the corporation sends hitmen to take him out and take the formula. I believe the hitman's name was Hemlock. Right there on the nose. And they killed his dad in front of him. And he tries to hide in the laboratory. Well, the goons come busting in and just start shooting. And of course, they hit a giant vat of zero fluid, because everybody just keeps big open vats of chemicals around. Just ask Joker and Harley Quinn. The vat of chemicals splashed all over Jack, and it's supposed to explain the half dark on his skin, but it turns out that has nothing to do with that either. But he gets splashed by this, and he ends up kind of enveloping the energy of the zero fluid. And it keeps building in him. It mutates his cells and whatnot. And he ends up using that power to take out the bad guys and seek revenge or vengeance against the corporation. Now, he puts together the costume out of the armament that his dad had and added the little heart over the eye and take the name Jack of Hearts in honor of his father and his father's love of playing cards. I believe that's called Poker Addict. But yeah, so he then goes off on a vengeance kick. It puts him in conflict with White Tiger. He ends up all over the place too, by the way. He pops up in the Hulk. Then he's a regular with Iron Man for a while. He spends time with the Defenders, pops up in Rom the Space Knight at one point. Anywhere that Bill Mantlo could bring the character, he did. And then Kurt Busiek ended up making him a part of the Avengers. And he said that part of the reason he was in love with the character was because of the incredibly difficult costume. So it says no secret identity with the name being Jack Hart. Yeah, just not even trying. Not even trying. So all this is going on. And like I said, he is popping up everywhere. In the 70s, he is all over the place. Right after his creation, he's like being passed around. Now, I don't know if it's that Bill Mantlo is writing all these appearances, or if just everybody goes, yeah, let's get that guy, nobody can draw. And then when Jim Shooter came on board, they decided they took Bill Mantlo off of Iron Man, so he couldn't have Jack in there anymore. So he made this plea in the letter pages for everybody to write in to get Jack his own series. Well, enough people wrote in that Shooter decided to give him a one-shot in Marvel Premiere as the lead character. And when that did well, it led into a 4-issue miniseries. Now, the 4-issue miniseries was Bill Mantlo and I want to say George Freeman. Don't remember 100% off the top of my head, but the interesting thing is that he made a lot of changes to the character in this miniseries. He comes in contact with a SHIELD agent named Dr. Marcy Kane, who was a former classmate of his and who also was for a while involved with Peter Parker. Well, it turns out that she is also Contraxian, just like his mother was. And we find out that he is half Contraxian. This is where all of that comes out. And that the reason that they had come to Earth is the planet's sun was dying and they needed to find a way to refuel it. JD says, I mean, if I were a bad guy, I'd be like, we tracked Jack of Hearts to the property listed to a Jack Hart. Well, that can't be his real name. No one would be that stupid. Good point. So basically what we find out is, and they even retconned it later to say that Jack's father knew about his mom being a Contraxian, and that the Zero Fluid was to help Jack and also to help reestablish the sun for Contraxia. I mean, it gets a little convoluted, but the character is pretty straightforward. Like I said, originally the dark skin was supposed to be scarring from the Zero Fluid, but later on it turns out that all the Contraxians have that half dark skin, and that it was laying. And they even say now that the powers he has and stuff were laying dormant because of but brought forth because of the Zero Fluid. Also, he was continuing to mutate. So when he put on the armor, it became kind of part of him, and it turned into basically a containment suit, because this power keeps building up and building up inside of him, and he has to be able to release it. Yeah, that's not a metaphor. But again, all of the Contraxian stuff, that didn't come up until the miniseries. So in Iron Man, in Hulk, in Rom, and all those stories, he was just a guy in a suit. Mind you, the suit, containment suit, and if it ever got cut or he got out of it, then he wouldn't be able to control his powers. Now, powers in suit, I want to give you some rundown on that. Jack has a lot of powers, including the Zero Energy Blast. These are powerful concussion blasts that come from an energy that is being created by his cells. Don't light a match if Taco Bell is involved. Yes. He can use those same blasts to propel himself through the air. So I mean, he can basically fly. He has superhuman strength, stamina, durability, and an accelerated healing factor. At one point, I think in the Iron Man comics, he had some kind of weird merging with this device that basically allowed him to think as fast as a computer, because he didn't have enough abilities already. He has shield training, so he's actually pretty good at hand-to-hand combat, but never really uses it. He can survive in the vacuum of space, but does occasionally need some oxygen, so he can't be out there forever. Yes, he did show up. That was actually his most recent appearance, was in the She-Hulk comics. And that's after him dying and coming back and coming back as a zombie Yeah, it's really convoluted. Um, uh, now, I love the fact that they say he has a chainmail suit, but then later they describe his suit as being made of boron whisker impregnated steel alloy cloth that covers his whole body except his face and hands. Excuse me? Boron whisker impregnated. It feels like they just used a word generator at that point. You know? Maybe it's made of the whiskers of Unsinkable Sam. They figured he'd survive anything. Who knows? And they soaked it in boron and then impregnated it. No, I got nothing. That's just a bizarre one. So in 9 months, his suit goes into labor. It makes socks and gloves. Yeah, I like that one. Um, and of course now because of the mutagenic effect, it's sort of part of his body, which is really weird because they've changed his suit multiple times. You would think that if a guy is stuck in a containment suit and it's now part of his body, it would be consistent. But it was anything but consistent. It was drawn all over the different places. And it wasn't until Dave Cockrum actually sat down and wrote or drew out the turnaround. The one of the images, or the image that JD showed, is the first of three that they did, and it was the first official they had for Jack of Hearts. So now, why did I pick him for this? Simple. There's already the seed of this in the MCU. If you guys remember in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, there is a scene where Yondu is on this alien planet with the Ravagers, and they're all partying. I think Howard the Duck is there hitting on a prostitute. And he runs into his old Ravager buddies, Stallone's character of Starhawk, Martin X, those guys. That planet is Contraxia. They tell you that, right? They show you the planet, they put the name Contraxia, they give you the coordinates. So they've already introduced Contraxia. And if you remember, it was a wintry city full of like narrow streets and neon signs and stuff. Well, being a wintry city, that could mean that their sun is waning, which is what the problem was for Contraxia. And what Jack ends up doing in the miniseries is he ends up being taken back to Contraxia and eventually uses his powers to reignite the sun. Now, that may seem completely far-fetched, but I did a little research on that. And it turns out, depending on the type of sun, there's a certain amount of time that it'll last. Mind you, it's a long time. But if the sun is a yellow sun like ours, what is burning is the energy in the core. But the outside of the central core, that material doesn't get burned, and the sun eventually fades out. Yeah. In like a red dwarf or a red giant, those things, they're actually burning up all of the mass in the sun. So it's conceivable you could reignite a yellow star, a sun, by creating enough, forcing enough energy into the core that it expands out and starts eating off of all of it, or even splitting the sun into two. So there is a way that a character like Jack of Hearts could save a son. So I think that's a pretty good rundown on the character. So let's take our first break, and we'll come back and see about making a story. Be right back.
Did you know that every experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Go follow the Experience on TikTok at @the_EXP1 or scan the QR code on the screen. Our TikTok is like everywhere else we are, except you only have to deal with us for a minute. Seems like a win-win to me.
Everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We got a great lineup on the network today. After this is Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, and AR Comics is in. Then after that, we have the Trivia Show, 3T, with guest Frank Martin. After that, 360 Comics. And then kicking it with Henri, our late night show. So great lineup here. Just leave it on the Experience all day. It's great stuff. All right. So what we're doing is we're putting together a pitch for a Marvel series. Now, again, the reason I went with the Marvel series is that I think a single special wouldn't be enough to cover all of this, where a ongoing, or I mean a movie, you probably could do it in a movie, but I feel like it would be slightly shortchanged, where 6 episodes feels like you could probably do a good justice story to it, good. So, but there's some basic things you need when you're putting a story together. Things to keep in mind when you're putting it together is, here's the 7. There's one of the sites I grabbed this from. It said you want origin, human hook, characters, desires, obstacles, highlights, and the open road. So origin, not necessarily the origin of the character. But it says briefly touch upon what inspired you to write this idea. Doesn't matter. I want cash. I want to get money from Marvel. There. And they have to save a cat, apparently. Human hook. Why will the audience care? This is a great character. This is a character who didn't want his powers, gets it by accident, can't really control it, is basically a walking danger, yet he's also out for vengeance against those that killed his father. Pretty straightforward. Now, you can keep a lot of that element in it, or the existing story works really well over a long period of time. I'm thinking for a 6-issue miniseries or 6-episode miniseries, we got to condense a few things. Okay. But I think you can still make people care about what a tragedy this guy's life is. Now, character, who is it? What's in their lives? We don't really know much about Jack's life prior to the accident. So you want to establish him a little bit. You want to give him a reason to care. And you can do that through a few different means. But again, you can change things around a bit too. Desires, what do they want? Well, vengeance against the people that killed his father seems a little limited. I think I would rather focus on saving Contraxia. Go ahead and make this a cosmic character, because I think it's a little too small. A vengeance story. We're not doing John Wick in a gaudy costume. Actually, that may not be a bad idea, but I think we should go with the cosmic aspect and lean into the fact that we've already seen Contraxia. So having him show up there, we have an established look already. Obstacles, what's in the way? There really isn't. In the miniseries, he has to go up against a group of Contraxians who want the world to end, and they try to kidnap him and destroy. I mean, I don't think I would go that route. Highlights, I'm sure we could come up with some really good moments, some good scenes to kind of work towards each episode, but I'd rather those come naturally. And open road, what can we expect to see from the series? That's more of a question for an ongoing series. Like if you're pitching for a network, when you're doing something like this, where you're telling a finite number of episodes, that's really not an important question. So from there, the first real step in doing one of these stories is the one sheet. Your one sheet pitch. You do your one sheet, you do your series Bible, then you do your pilot script. Usually how it goes. We're probably not going to do a series Bible and pilot script. At least unless somebody hears this video from Marvel and go on with it. Don't see it happening, but so what's in a one sheet? Title, log line, your genre, your format, and a short synopsis. That's pretty straightforward. Title, have him fight Terax the Tamer. That's not a bad option. That is not a bad option at all. Terax, was Terax a Kree? Terax, created by artist John Byrne, where Wolfman. Yeah, Terax the Tamer is a really good option. And that's the one thing I've been missing is who do I have him face up against in my thoughts on this. I was leaning towards the Kree because they've been well established. But yeah, that's not a bad choice. On the world of Burge. So this is what I was thinking. Well, let's get back to that. I think you're on the right track there, Leonard, and I think Terax is a great option for it. The other person I was thinking was Shatterex, who's a Kree robot. But this could be cool getting away from the Kree because they are doing a lot with the Kree. Yeah. So, yeah, he's from, what did I just say? From the world Birj, Birj. So, a moon on the gas giant of Marmon in the solar system, 80,000 light years from Earth. Yeah, I'm kind of liking that idea. All right. So we'll do Terax the Tamer. Good visual look. Now, he was a herald of Galactus, right? But we'll have to not touch on that part of it. So, okay. Plus, how many heralds of Galactus will they really get into? All right, so next, one of the important things to come up with is the log line. Now, I'm going to give you a sample log line here. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to be able to guess the show, but let's see who can. Okay. A young boy mysteriously disappears from a quiet suburban town in the 1980s, and his friends, his mother, and the police chief have to work together to fight horrifying creatures from another dimension to bring him back. That's the sample log line. Like I said, you guys could probably guess what that is. And if you can't, then it's not a very good log line. Leonard says they clash before Galactus conversion, then after makes him a bigger bad. Yeah, that's a good idea too. So, was he yeah, okay. Have to do a little research into Terax, but that could definitely work. All right, so if you didn't guess, that log line I just read is from Stranger Things. So what does a log line consist of? What is happening and to whom? Where and when does this take place? What is unique to this show, or why does it stand apart? What is the emotional hook? Why should the audience care? And optionally, you can throw in the genre or format into the log line. That doesn't necessarily have to happen. Now, doing this log line here, we know the what, or we know to whom is Jack of Hearts. We maybe refer to him as an unwilling hero. An unwilling hero who discovers alien lineage, or that he's half alien, and that he's part of a plan to save his dying planet. Something to that effect. Because that's the things we want to take. The fact that he's an unwilling hero is the emotional thing, that his entire life has been turned upside down. Yeah, those are the things. Let's see, what can we come up with here? A young man's entire life is turned upside down after his father is murdered and he is exposed to a All right, JD, that's really good. There's some things have to be added to that, but I think that's really good, JD. So let's take that. Let's take what JD has put here. Put this into my notes. And so I'll start with that. Let's see. A superhero is caught between two worlds. Did I miss part of it? No. All right. So Call him a superhero. I don't like the idea of calling him a superhero. A young man accidentally endowed with incredible powers gets caught between two worlds. A young man accidentally endowed with incredible powers gets pulled into a battle to save his mother's home planet. Reluctant adventurer. See, I don't think he really comes across as an adventurer. I think this is somebody who gets powers and doesn't want them, and he doesn't even want to be it's more than reluctant. He wants nothing to do with it. Gets pulled into a battle to save his mother's home planet and himself as he prepares to make the ultimate sacrifice. I should be talking. A young man gets his entire world turned upside down when he is accidentally endowed with incredible powers and he pulled into a battle to save his mother's home planet. But is he ready to make the ultimate sacrifice? Okay. Let's see what he says. In a world where a scientist's identity doesn't matter, a young man finds himself with unwanted powers, struggling with rage-filled vengeance and a frozen world lost in darkness. No, Ed, actually, there's some really good components in there. There's some really good components there. Okay, let's pull from those. A rage-filled young man, I do like that, Ed. Rage-filled young man's entire life is turned upside down when he is accidentally endowed with incredible powers and gets pulled into a cosmic battle. We should definitely use the word cosmic battle. Ooh, let's just drop the whole mother thing. Okay, a rage-filled young man's entire life is turned upside down when he is accidentally endowed with incredible powers and gets pulled into a cosmic battle. Wait. Too many ands. A rage-filled young man's entire life is turned upside down when he is accidentally endowed with incredible powers, gets pulled into a cosmic battle, and must make the ultimate sacrifice for a frozen world. Frozen world. Why? Need the connection there. Why need millennial books helping parents with home planet maintenance? Nice, JD. Sacrifice for a frozen world. I like Frozen World, but I need a way to tie it back to him. Dying world, frozen. Yeah. Ancestral. That's nice. Do you want to see the sunrise? Frozen ancestral world. Filled with ghosts from his mother's past. I think we're close. On that. A rage-filled young man's entire life is turned upside down when he is accidentally endowed with incredible powers, gets pulled into a cosmic battle, and must make the ultimate sacrifice for his dying frozen ancestral world. Let's go with planet over world. There's a bit missing there. Something's missing. So, all right, we're running really long on this, so we might actually pick up on this at another time. But I'm going to save this. Maybe we'll come back to this next week, work on finishing up the log line here, and start working on the short synopsis. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat, and we'll come right back with, I got some key books that tie into Jack of Hearts. We'll come back right after this.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
Did you know that across America there are over 2, maybe even 3 live stream producers who can't even afford Mountain Dew? Take Brian here. Brian has gone 2 weeks without a sip of Red Bull. If it goes on much longer, he may take a shower and get a real job. Situations like this are as tragic as they are preventable. Join the experience on YouTube and gain access to special emojis and members-only streams. For less than a cup of coffee, you can keep socially awkward hermit people working from their parents' basements where they belong. Scan the QR code on the screen to join. You'll be glad you did.
everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Ed, I don't have tomorrow's show planned. I was just going to do a news roundup, but let's continue this tomorrow. All right, and we'll pick up from where we left off. We'll start talking about the log line and go from there. Now let's speed through some Jack of Hearts comics. This here is Deadly Hands of Kung Fu number 21. This had a cameo appearance. This is just that little moment that he pops up, not full. It's $18 on the high end, $5 for a median, and $1 on low. After that, this is where we get his first full appearance, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu number 22. This is all from 1976. This goes for $150 high end, $50 on the median, and $15 on the low. Then when first time he showed up in a regular comic, a standard size comic, was Incredible Hulk 213. This was a high of $18, median's about $5, low end's about $1. And then first time he ever appeared on the cover of a comic was Incredible Hulk 214, also from 1977. This one goes for about $10. It's a cool cover too. $2 on the median end. Then we got Iron Man 102. This is where he started the first of a dozen appearances on the Iron Man series. Again, $5 for the high end on this, 2, 1. Not a lot of value on the Jack of Hearts stuff, but going on from there, we have, this was his first time in a solo story. This was Marvel Premiere number 44 from 1978. High end on this is about $12. This is probably where I first came across him. Low end's about $1. So, and then after that, he started showing up in the Defenders. He appeared here 3 times. This first was Defenders number 62 in 1978. High end's about $8, median's $2, low end's $1. He didn't stick around long, but he did get his own series, which was Jack of Hearts number 1. It was a 4-issue miniseries. This one goes for about $10. This is a real good series, by the way. I remember reading it. 5 for a median, 2 for a low end. He dies. He dies in Avengers number 76. This was part of, was this disassembled? Yeah, this was the Avengers disassembled thing. His death killed Scott Lang and was the kickoff of the Avengers disassembled. High end on this is $3, low end, or median and low end. No, it's not. This isn't the beginning of it. This is just where he dies. Getting ahead of myself. He comes back as a zombie a few times. For Marvel Zombies Supreme number 2, he pops up here, $3 on the high end, median's 2, low end's a 1. He makes a good looking zombie, I got to tell you. And then we have, this is the resurrection of Jack Hart and where he's at now, the status. Leonard mentioned it earlier. This is where he shows up just randomly in Jen Walter's apartment, finds out that he can eat, he can sleep, and all that stuff. This is She-Hulk number 1 from 2022. High end on this is only $5, so it's still a good, easy pickup. $2 for median, $1 for low end, and I believe that's all of them. Yep. So, yeah, we'll pick back up tomorrow with the log line, and then we'll start working on the synopsis. Figure out where Terax the Tamer is going to fit in, why he's interested in the planet, those type of things. I've got some ideas, but, we'll mix it together and see what we come up with. So tune in tomorrow and we'll do that. And stick around for Comics Collectibles starting in just a minute. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.